Do you want to know why you shouldn't call a pit bull a chihuahua?
People thought he lost.
Jesus fucking Christ! That was brutal. Romero gets sent to the gulag after trolling Pitbull Cruz. Get ready so Ego can let y'all know what went down in this video. Let's just say punches in bunches, sheesh. Let's dive in.
They say you shouldn't throw stones if you live in a glass house. Never, ever call a pit bull a chihuahua. That lesson was learned the hard way by Rolando, Romero. This would happen sometimes when you guys want to troll online. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Very impressed with the very first Amazon Prime card. Very fun stuff, people. Romero. It was not his night. What can I say? Rolly lost his belt to Pitbull Cruz in a brutal and violent fashion. I'm going to try to take you back through the fight in this video. Make sure you guys follow along. So, leading up to the fight, Rolly did a lot of trolling. I even called him Trolly Romero. He was, you know, just being himself. He bought a necklace with the pendant with a dog with Cruz's face. Now, you have to understand, Cruz is from Mexico. So, he's not necessarily used to Americanized humor, right? In Mexico, you know, let's be real. There's a lot of areas that are war-torn and a lot goes down, you know, in various places. So you probably learn to live a certain way and grow up fast, things like that. So needless to say, in my opinion, Cruz didn't laugh. Like, these weren't funny jokes, ha ha ha, to Cruz. I think he was truly getting annoyed with Rolly's shenanigans and antics, and he's not one to go tit for tat in that arena. So what he did was he extracted his revenge, not on Twitter, but in the ring, right? Rolly, they did the ring walk. He looked extremely big. Like, he looked like he was in great shape, working with Tony Brady. That's like the first thing I noticed. I was like, man, he looked big. And he looked bigger than Pitbull Cruz. But I was looking when the ref was giving their instructions at the beginning. Pitbull lived up to his name. Before the fight even started, during the ref instructions, Pitbull Cruz was just looking at Rolly with these. It was like you could see the intent before the fight had already happened. And he was just looking at him with menacing eyes, like, just wait till I get my hands on you kind of deal. And literally in round one, Pitbull Cruz landed a shot. It was, you know how Roy Jones say, don't hook with a hooker. Rolly was trying to throw his shots, but the problem is Rolly comes from judo or whatever, and he throws really wide, you know? And he's like, it's like he's loading up, and he gets, if he lands it, he has power. Rolly has brute force where if he does land that, he could crack you. But you have to understand, the fastest from point A to B is a straight line, right? But also, when you're a taller guy fighting a smaller guy, it creates different inherent problems. Like, look at Mike Tyson. And when you look at Pitbull Cruz, you could tell he emulated his style from the early Tyson. And they were even calling him the Mexican Mike Tyson in his career. And you could tell he comes out with the high guard and he tries to hurt you, you know, in the same way with explosiveness and stuff like that. And I was really impressed with Pitbull. I was really impressed with what I seen. Pitbull Cruz was not playing no games. Let's be clear. None. No games whatsoever. And like I said, in round 1, he hurt Rolly. I think it was a temple shot. Don't hook with a hooker. Big fatal mistake that Rolando Romero made is he was trading early. Like, Pitbull Cruz is almost the type of guy where it would probably serve you better to come out slow, because I think that sets a very negative pace. I mean, just think about it. If you're in a fight and you're badly hurt, like I'm talking about, Rolly was on skates, like his whole body was like swaying to the point where he couldn't even stand, almost like he was losing his footing and like moonwalking backwards, like flying back from this shot from Pitbull Cruz. And Pitbull, he stayed on top of him. The round ended. Somehow Rolly made it out of the round. Now, I gave Rolly credit early because his recuperative skills, you know, seemed pretty good early on. And in the second round, he got hurt that badly. It looked like it was like the end was near. And Rolly actually survived several more rounds, but the end was not pretty. So I was impressed with how Rolly kind of bounced back, if you will, after such a terrible round 1. And that clearly, I mean, just common sense. Pitbull Cruz, he bit you. And when a fighter knows they can hurt you, then you just gave them confidence. Rolly never showed that he could hurt Pitbull Cruz. Pitbull Cruz had his chin tucked pretty good. He was blocking some of the shots, and his short stature just makes him real short and compact. And you got to know how to land the punch on him, right? I don't know if people are used to fighting a guy that is that much shorter than him. Very impressed that Pitbull Cruz, this was his first fight that I can think of any level of like high profile names at 140. He's a 135 pounder. The weight was not a problem. His style carried up, his power carried up. And, you know, he just kind of tortured Rolly. I gave Rolly like 1 round. Maybe you can give him 2 rounds if you're being generous. But other than that, it was really the Pitbull Cruz show. And he was just teeing off on Rolly like bad. And Rolly was doing this weird thing after he was throwing punch. And I've seen him do it before. It's like he's like trying to form fit or like get a better fit on his glove or make his punches hurt more. So he's like trying to pull his glove. I don't know. I don't really know. I watch these things. Like I even asked Leo Santa Cruz when I interviewed him one time why he shakes it. Like Leo will get into his combination, bah, 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 and then he'll go like this and shake like maracas or something. Like he like shakes his gloves. And I don't know, you know, fighters have these little like quirks. Like Nonito Donaire, sometimes he'll faint with his mouth. Like he'll open his mouth like, and I just peep these things. And I just noticed Rolly kept like, almost like he was trying to like put on new gloves or something. I don't know. It was really weird. But I think that was a distraction. Like even little stuff like that. Pitbull Cruz was not giving you enough time to think, breathe, or maneuver around. So like any little things like that, he wasn't even like ready to punch. And I think what really gave Rolly issues versus Pitbull Cruz, outside of like the obvious stuff, his power, is Pitbull Cruz was just on him, relentless, stayed on top of him. And Rolly is thought to be a puncher as well. None of his punches really had any effect on Pitbull Cruz. He just seemingly could not hurt this man. Like there was a couple times where he landed some sweeping rights or some pretty solid shots. No effect. Pitbull Cruz got this big thick neck, you know what I mean? It had no effect. And, you know, Tank fought him with one hand, which is a testament to the greatness of Gervonta Davis. How do you even beat a guy like this, especially injured, with a handicap in one hand? So it just shows you how great Tank is. But even Tank messed up his hand hitting this dude's hard head. So the dude must be hard-headed and tough, and he definitely has a chin because he was walking through every Rolly shot. Tank was landing some nice shots early and then end up messing up his hand, and then he had to like kind of retire one of his hands in that particular fight. So impressive stuff all in all from Pitbull Cruz. He stayed on top of him. He wanted to make Rolly Romero pay for all those things that he was saying in the buildup, as I mentioned, all that trolling. See, I have a quote that I came up with, and I came up with it very long time ago, like years ago. Everybody wants to be Money Mayweather without going through the Pretty Boy Floyd stages. And for me, that's what I see. I see a lot of like trolling, arguing on social media and things like that. But some of these guys aren't necessarily improving their game. They're doing a good, like, it's so weird in boxing. You got guys who have mastered the ability to sell the fight, and they're great showmen. They know how to get under people's skin. They know how to make videos and certain posts. But then when it comes to, like, basically what I'm saying is this. Imagine a fighter like without the biggest personality, like let's say Terrence Crawford, but he had Rolly's gift of gab and ability to entertain. Crawford would be a huge, like, he would be like a big star because he has the skills, and then the charisma stuff, you put it in one package, and then you have like this phenomenal athlete. But unfortunately, you got some of the guys who are crazy skilled, but then they don't tap into that side. They're more like introverted or whatever, and they don't know how to turn it up for the camera. For Rolly, it's the opposite. Crisscross, flip flop. Rolly knows how to troll and turn it up for the camera, but then as far as his actual fight game, some of the same mistakes that he's made in the past were still here in this fight. Like when Rolly's punching, he's punching probably too wide. He has the really wide stance, and Rolly sometimes the chin in the air, just various mistakes. Getting hurt, like when he's badly hurt, doesn't really know how to buy himself time, and he just seems like almost so discombobulated that he can't survive in those moments. And then also, like in the Pitbull fight, he couldn't manage to hurt him. So his game plan, I just didn't understand where his game plan was going. Like he was, I get it. When you got two big punchers, usually somebody will turn into the boxer, like meaning the guy who has slightly better boxing skills will try to box a bit more. So he was trying that. He was like almost running in the ring, burning unnecessary energy after he talked all this stuff about Pitbull Cruz, and he was trying to utilize the ring and move a lot, but you're not going to win by moving. And then Pitbull was doing a good job of countering, but also a good job of cutting off the ring and making that ring small. So I just don't feel like what Rolly was trying really suited his style. I think which would have gave him, and I'm not saying he would have won, but what would have gave him a better fighting chance is if Rolly bit down on his mouthpiece, walked into the fire, and tried to get some real respect from Pitbull Cruz. Feet planted and just, and then, you know, try to let something rip where his feet planted, because Rolly is not, he's not like a Shakur Stevenson where he could, you know, outbox you over the course of 12 rounds and make it look convincing. That's not really his game. His game is like a power game, but he was trying to box, but he almost didn't know how to keep this guy off of him. So that you could tell that wasn't his game. And I don't know if he was generating enough power by moving so much and constantly being on the retreat and moving backwards, and Pitbull just kept pushing forward. I think he needed to find a way to push Pitbull Cruz back, and he has power, so he should have tried to drive, like, stand your ground, because either we knew this fight was going to end in a knockout. Either Rolly gets knocked out or Rolly knocks out Pitbull Cruz. No one really thought it was going to go the decision. They had disdain for each other. Both guys have power. And early on, Pitbull was winning the power battle and throughout the fight. But to try to change that tempo, I think Rolly should have almost went for broke instead of, like, if you're going to get knocked out, you already got knocked out in the end. But retreating wasn't going to be the trick that got Pitbull Cruz to, like, respect you. And then I don't think he's as disciplined enough to be like a Devin Haney or like a Shakur Stevenson or even one-handed Tank, because Tank boxed beautifully in that fight. But Tank's a little bit different because he has mad power as well. So you have to respect, especially a two-handed Tank. But, like, you know, the Devin Haney's and Shakurs, where they could just outbox you in the move and, you know, defense is tight. That's just not his game, you know? And it's similar to basketball. You look at basketball, Steph Curry can pull up to the logo and just release and shoot it and then make the ball. Or he can pull up to the three-point line and he's just a sniper, where Steph Curry could just release, just pull up and shoot. Pull up from the logo, pull up to the line, and then just release. He could stop on a dime and get off and then score points. That's Steph Curry's game in basketball. So Rolly, his style was almost like he was trying to be like a Steph Curry-ish boxer, where he thought he was going to retreat and then just like land some shots here and there and stop on a dime and then get something to get Pitbull's attention. But he didn't really have all of his power behind it because he was constantly moving backward. He just didn't really have a solid game plan. Pitbull Cruz beat the brakes off of him. The seventh round, I want to say it's the seventh round, the round before the stoppage, he was badly hurt in that again. So he got hurt in the first round and he was on badly skates. It looked like it was almost over. He recovered pretty well and it set a mean tempo. So he was just trying to box and, like, occasionally he was getting his shots off, blah, blah, blah. And then the round before it ended, I want to say round 7, he was badly hurt again in that particular round. And to the point where the ref was kind of like, you got to show me something. The very next round, I predicted it. Go look at my watch party. I said he'll probably get knocked out in this round. And I was right. Pitbull Cruz hit him, stayed on top of him, true to his nickname, true to where he comes from. Shout out to Mexico. And the Pitbull bit down on Rolly. All the Chihuahua jokes and all that was out the window. The ref rightfully jumped in and he's like, nah, I've seen enough. This fight is over. It was a great stoppage by the referee. The referee allowed him really every opportunity to continue as the champion, but you got to show him something. He was getting teed off on him. Like Pitbull Cruz, great finisher. Shout out to him. I don't think he gets enough credit for his finishing ability, but it was like a game of pinball. Bing, 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 bing. Pitbull, whop, whop, whop. And his head was like just going every direction. And you can't do that. It's too much. The referee had already warned you and your head is getting rocked every direction like that. Bing, 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 bing. So he was still standing up. Wasn't like his eyes were closed, but might as well have been. He was out on his feet. His head was getting rocked in every direction. Do not call a pit bull a chihuahua if you've learned nothing else from this video. Now, post-fight, of course, Pitbull's happy. His team is happy. He called out, he said he wants to fight the best. Ryan Garcia, he wants to fight Devin Haney, whoever, right? I think he even mentioned Gervonta Davis's name. The one thing I will say, they interviewed Rolly Romero after the fight. He clearly had a concussion, and it was like kind of a tough question from Jordan Plant about, hey, you said this and what went wrong. I thought the question was a little bit tough considering a champion just lost their belt. And beyond that, he had a concussion for sure. So they got to stop interviewing everybody, because the UFC does this too. They got to stop interviewing people right after they got badly knocked out. Like, if it's like a light TKO or something, this is a bad knockout. That's like when they try to interview Tim Bradley, even though he won that fight versus Ruslan Provodnikov. The man was slurring and he sounded concussed. So I think somebody, a doctor or something, ringside physician, needs to really listen to them and see if they're capable of giving an intelligible, because you kind of felt bad for Rolly. I know some people probably laughed, but you kind of felt bad for Rolly. He lost his belt, big card, first Amazon Prime card. You start probably replaying all the stuff, the trash talk, what your social media is going to say. Did I become a meme? How did that look? All those kind of things. And then Rolly, he was trying to, be professional and probably had a ton of bottled emotions. He was just like, he kind of like stuttered and stammered a bit. And he was like, yeah, I just want to say happy Easter to everybody. And that's like, that was the only thing. I don't know. It was kind of, I don't know. We kind of felt bad about it. He was talking about happy Easter. And he didn't, he clearly didn't want to do the interview because he didn't have anything probably good to say. And, it is what it is. As far as Pitbull Cruz, I told you, he's so fun to watch. He's violent. He fights like he's spamming the video game controller, like he's spamming the L1, L2 button or something. He's a nonstop action. He has a country behind him, clean cut look. I would put him on the Canelo card, to be honest, because I don't think he took any punishment. Do it for La Raza and put him on the Canelo card or something. But definitely fun to watch. It opens up a lot. He's a champion now at 140. You got to respect him. Some people, they tried to keep his name down. Shout out to Gervonta Davis. He's the only one that really fought him. Some people looked at his name like, oh, was he bring to the table? Blah, blah, blah. Now you can't deny him. He's a player at the 140. And it was a great card. It was a great performance. Superb stuff. The other thing I like from Pitbull Cruz is I watched his last fight and it was pretty abysmal. And I'm not talking about the Rolly fight. Before that, he fought the dude that fought Gabe Flores, the Cabrera dude. And based on the style, that guy can box and he has a pretty good size and he obviously had a beard. Pitbull didn't look as ferocious as he has in the past when he fought Magdaleno or when he fought Rolly Romero. So overall, styles make fights, and that fight proved it. And Pitbull, coming off of that performance, he just didn't look that great. But now all is forgiven because he looked excellent and looks like he improved and he's back to his old ways versus Rolly. Congratulations to Pitbull.